Hoarded Books and One Click Digital present Beyond the Blue Moon by Simon R. Green, narrated by John Keating.
Chapter 1. Haunted by the Past. It was spring in Haven, and no one gave a damn. Everywhere else in the world, it was a time for life and love, and a joyful new start to all living things. But this was Haven, the infamous rotten apple of the Low Kingdoms. An independent city-state at the arse end of the southern lands, where swords and sorcery, religion and politics, life and death, were just familiar coins in the everyday trade of a dark and twisted city. Set at the intersection of a dozen thriving trade routes, Haven had blossomed over the years, like the great gaudy bloom of a poisonous flower, and people and creatures of all kinds came in search of the city's many secrets and mysteries. You could find anything at all in Haven, if you were willing to pay the price, which was sometimes gold and sometimes lives, but nearly always, eventually, your soul. Haven, the city of your dreams, including all the bad ones, a place of wonders and horrors, and everything in between. Hungry eyes watched from shadowed side streets, not all of them human, not all of them even alive. In Haven there were glories and mysteries, messiahs and abominations, pleasures and depravities in all their forms. Heroes and villains and a whole lot of people just trying to get through the day. And, just sometimes, a few good men and women, honourable and true, doing their best to hold it all together, punish the guilty and protect the innocent, or at least try to keep the lid on. Two such were Hawke and Fisher, husband and wife and captains in the city guard, possibly the only honest cops left in Haven. They'd never taken a bribe, never looked the other way, and never once given a villain an even break, unless it was to his arm or leg. They lost as many battles as they won, but they'd won a few big ones in their time, and even saved the whole damned city more than once. It didn't win them promotions, or even much in the way of raises or commendations, because of the many influential enemies they'd made along the way, through their uncomfortable regard for truth and justice. But still they fought the good fight, because that was who and what they were. And if sometimes their methods were excessive and overly violent, and if occasionally it seemed you could always tell where they'd been because they left a trail of bloody corpses behind them, well, this was Haven, after all. Their beat was the north side, the poorest, most desperate and most dangerous part of the city. And the most dangerous things in that infamous quarter were quite definitely Hawke and Fisher. People tended not to bother them. In fact, people tended to cross to the other side of the street when they saw them coming. Hawke and Fisher had built quite a reputation during their years in Haven, all of it earned the hard way. Hawke was tall, dark, and no longer handsome. He wore a black silk patch over the empty socket where his right eye had once been, and a series of old scars ran raggedly down the right side of his face, giving him a cold, sinister look. He wore a simple white tunic and trousers, under a thick black coat, his only touch of colour a blue silk cravat at his throat. But still, at first glance he didn't look like much. Lean and wiry rather than muscular, and building a stomach. He wore his dark hair at shoulder length, swept back from his forehead, and tied at the back with a silver clasp. 35 years old, he already had thick streaks of grey in his hair. It would have been easy to dismiss him as just another bravo, a sword for hire perhaps a little past his prime. But there was a dangerous alertness in the way he carried himself, and the cold gaze of his single dark eye was disturbingly direct and unwavering. On his right hip, Hawke carried a short-handled axe instead of a sword. He was very good with that axe. He'd had a lot of practice. Fisher walked at his side.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.